Hi, thank you for joining me for another video. I'm Robert Hall with Appraisal of Kentucky, and this is my channel, Robert the Appraiser. And today we're going to continue on with our last discussion, which is talking about what to do to get a house ready for sale. And what the point that I made in the last video is that the number one thing to really focus on when getting a house ready to sell, rather than total renovations and updates and spending tens of thousands of dollars modernizing an older home, I said primarily, in most cases, the most important thing that a homeowner can do to get the house ready is to fix what is broken. Now, I want to focus on one specific component, and that is concrete. I'm talking about the sidewalks in the front. I'm talking about the driveway, all the concrete around the outside of the house, concrete in the garage, on the floor, anywhere that there's concrete. Now, I want to tell you some of my thoughts on concrete. I think it can be one of the most overlooked renovations that people understandably don't want to do to their house because concrete is very expensive. I mean, just on your average house, and I'm talking about Louisville, Kentucky construction costs, because construction costs fluctuate all over the country, but I can say that it's not unusual to imagine a $20,000 to $30,000 bill to change out a driveway and a front sidewalk and the concrete that goes around the back of the house. Okay, now that is a big ticket item, and one of the reasons that it's important is because the fact that it is such a big ticket item usually, in most cases, has contributed to the likelihood that the concrete has never been replaced, even though it has far exceeded its useful life. Now, I want you to just consider something. When a person, let's say the house has been renovated, but the homeowner or the contractor looked at the cost of concrete and they said, well, I'm not going to spend $30,000 to finish the concrete. Well, here's what happens. First impressions, we all know, are very, very important. Now, when a person pulls up in front of a house, I can guarantee you that if the concrete is worn out, if it has raised areas, if some of it is turned to gravel, if it's discolored, if it's old, if there are safety issues with uneven pavement and cracks and things like that, they will notice it, okay? And that's going to be their first impression. But continuing on in how bad this is, anyone, when they walk, naturally we look down where our feet are to make sure that we don't trip. And that long walk from the car to the front door, the potential buyer's eyes are looking at every inch of that concrete. Now, let's say that they get to the front door and on the other side of that front door is a beautifully renovated house. The problem is they already have a bad feeling about this house, and that bad feeling is very hard to overcome. Now, I have an actual case study. It's from the East End of Louisville, Kentucky, and I understand that my channel talks a lot about Louisville, Kentucky and the surrounding areas because that's where I work and reside, but these concepts are universal, okay? Whether you're in a completely different market than Louisville with different prices and things like that, these concepts continue to hold true. People don't like worn out things, okay? So I'll give you an actual case study. There was a house and I was asked to appraise this house after it had been renovated. There was a buyer who had bought it, renovated it, and wanted to flip it. Okay, and they did exactly what I said. They made the mistake that is so often made. They looked at the cost of the concrete and they said, I'll leave that for the future owner. They said, I'm not going to spend the $30,000. Now, I did the appraisal at the request of the real estate agent, and I told the real estate agent that the concrete was a big problem, and my appraised value, my opinion of what that house would sell for, was significantly lower than what that owner expected to get. And I explained, I said, there's just a number of things that really weren't done right. They wanted to cut costs, cut corners, and buyers were going to not only notice it and comprehend it, but they were also going to feel it, okay? Houses like that don't give a person a good feeling. And you know, I'll make a future video on this, but I've always said that buying impulses are just that. They're impulses, and they're derived by our feelings. And if the buyer already has a bad feeling about a house, when that front door opens, even if what's on the other side of that door is very impressive and pleasant, it's very difficult for those pleasantries to overcome the negative attitudes that potential buyers have when they're walking across crumbling, cracked, unsightly concrete. So I hope this has helped you to consider that whenever you're looking at a listing and you have a buyer who is genuinely asking your opinion, you need to give consideration to whether or not it is cost effective to go ahead and hire a concrete company to come in, demolish what's there, and put in a new driveway. Now, of course, every one of these questions is always on a case-by-case basis. Oftentimes, I'm asked by people to come out and look at it with my own eyes, and there's times when the concrete is in good enough condition that I would say, I wouldn't worry about it, okay? So there's a point of no return with concrete, and since I'm not out there in the field with you, you'll have to help your homeowner make that determination himself. Again, I appreciate that you watched my video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe.